the Silicon Valley of India brought to a halt. Many parts of Bengaluru saw protests, arson, groups of men attacking vehicles from Tamil Nadu.
The situation is only getting worse. Supplies have dried up from groundwater resources by at least 50%.
Bangalore, officially known as Bengaluru. In the last 40 years, this megacity of 14 million inhabitants has become the Silicon Valley of India. Many of the world's databases, apps, and software pass through this IT hub. A symbol of the unbridled growth of globalization, this sprawling city faces a critical problem, the solution to which will determine its future: a shortage of water.
The groundwater table is so depleted, we must dig ever deeper.
Bangalore and many of the cities who are involved in IT, they never anticipated this exponential growth.
The cities are growing fast because of the mainstream ideology, which is pushing for urbanization.
When you have more and more concrete surfaces, you are not allowing the water to percolate. The water percolate decides our fate.
India is dependent on the monsoon, and if they fail consecutively over 2 years, then we are in real crisis.
In 10 years, nothing has changed. We use free water from the Cauvery River once a week. The tap water isn't enough. We must also purchase groundwater that is delivered by tanker trucks, but it's not drinkable. So we also have to buy drinking water in bottles. Each day we consume 4 or 5 bottles, or around 30 liters. Tanker trucks only deliver on Mondays. It doesn't last a week, only 2 or 3 days at most, and it's only cooking water. We're worried about it, but what can you do? We have no choice.
Apart from what water we receive from the government, if the water is not sufficient, then we go to the shops, like where they sell water, like potable water, drinking water. 30 liters can we'll be getting. In some places it is like $20, in some places it is $5. Money? If it is a family member of 4 or 5, definitely they need at least 500 to 1,000 rupees only for the water. But having once in a week is really not enough. It is not sufficient. It is not going to give any benefit for the people. So here in this area, water is an issue.
An issue for Dana Lakshmi and Koshala, as well as the rest of the people who live in Bangalore, where water must be rationed. The city faces a water shortage of around 500 million liters per day. In 2022, India became the most populated country in the world, topping 1.4 billion inhabitants. Water is a rare and precious resource all over the country. Located in the middle of South India, Bangalore depends on just one river, the Cauvery. So how has Bangalore become one of the most developed cities in India, despite this fragile and precarious situation? To understand that, you have to go back to the 1980s and the beginning of the globalization of IT.
India's new stature as an offshore center for software came about slowly, but it's picked up tremendous speed in the last 5 years. The government's liberalized computer and software policy of 1984, combined with a growing reputation overseas, made the Indian computer industry a choice prospect for joint ventures and high-tech developers.
The brain power is here, the technical talent is here.
Such work in Massachusetts was close to about $50 an hour. while we were able to contract with Hindetron for the same work at about $15 an hour.
You had a new kind of industry, not the old public sector units, but the service sector units that came forward. And the first to come into Bangalore was an American company called Texas Instruments. And after Texas Instruments, there's no looking back for the IT sector, which is just going up and up.
Last week, Wipro Infotech announced a collaboration with another global company, the American Apple Computers.
They said we were the first in the world to do this outside of the US.
Many of these companies started from scratch. None of us, including the top chairmen and CEO of this company, ever imagined this business will boom to this level in this 20 years.
So one of India's largest companies, its market capitalization about $13 billion, and today the company is listing on the New York Stock Exchange. Joining us is Azim Premji. He's chairman and CEO of Wipro, live from the New York Stock Exchange. Mr. Premji, good to have you with us.
It was on the 19th of October 2000 that Wipro arrived at the New York Stock Exchange. It was the company's first public offering since 1947, and it raised $125 million.
We are in one of the largest IT village called Global Village. It encompasses hundreds of IT companies. The IT parks are a very important catalyst for the growth of IT industry. There are several companies working for the customers all around the globe. For example, we developed the software for automotive, companies like Renault. One of the challenge for the multinational companies in Europe and the US, they want to go fast to the market with their applications. They need India and the Indian IT engineers to develop and put these softwares to work in the shortest possible time. And when this park was started, they planned to keep a lot of expansion space, but within 10 years, this park is full. We believe this IT and digital technologies will ever grow. So the growth of the business in IT and companies need to be well balanced with the providing infrastructures for the habitants here. This is one of the big challenge. Of course, the authorities are working on this. The speed at which they are bringing solutions are not catching up with the growth of IT business.
The delivery may take a little longer. I am currently busy with several pressing issues. But don't worry, I'll make sure we get you the supplies quickly. I'm sorry, sir. Businesses need a gigantic amount of water. I receive over 50 calls a day asking for water for that day. They need at least one truckload of water to fill their tanks. And when they run out of water, they can't afford to wait more than 2 hours. This tanker can hold up to 7,000 liters. We have to dig deeper and deeper to find water. The water table is exhausted. A few years ago, we found water at 300 meters. Today, there is nothing above 600 meters. It's very difficult. Being a farmer is very complicated in our region. So we started looking for other work, and that's why we created this company. I didn't study, so I couldn't find a job in IT. The suburb of Whitefield has developed very quickly. Originally in 2006, this road was entirely gravel. There was nothing here back then. Suddenly, we saw businesses and homes appear, and our work grew. Today, Bangalore has become a megacity. Many people have settled in Whitefield, where the IT sector is located. This led to the construction of many apartments. The issue is becoming more critical. The city supplies some neighborhoods with water, while others get nothing. Many homes depend entirely on us. The water supply of the Kaveri River is irregular. Getting water once or twice a week isn't enough to solve the problem. They divide and release the water district by district to make sure everyone gets some. The best I can do is deliver tomorrow. I'm sorry. Thank you for your understanding. In general, homes have wells drilled into the water table. If they go dry, they call us in Whitefield. Tankers play a major role in managing water needs. People say the tanker industry is a mafia, but they don't know what that means. Why do they treat us like that? Because they simply don't want to pay. But if we stopped supplying the city, even for a day, then everyone would understand how crucial water is.
In this thirsty city, it's not just the tanker trucks and IT parks that are thriving. Another profession is booming: real estate development. In under a decade, new entrepreneurs have built empires.
We started business in 2013. It's almost 8 years completed now. Started with 1-2 people. Now we've grown to, in office we have 200 people team, and outside we have close to 1,000 people team actually. Particularly this place is for the real estate transactions, and we have close to 60 people team only working on transactions, real estate transactions. And this is our facility management team. We are managing close to 2 million square foot space in Bangalore. Even we have people from Punjab, Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, everywhere. Everywhere people are working in our offices.
What is today's plan? There is one agreement sign and inspections.
Growth of the Bangalore is completely depending on the IT domain itself. At least 90% of the companies, corporate offices, they have one unit in Bangalore. We have ourselves grown, and Bangalore gives a lot of entrepreneurs to the city also. We never imagined that Bangalore is growing such a expansionally growth. So we are, it's surprising to see that. It's kind of a dream for us.
A dream that turned into a nightmare for others. To establish these empires, builders construct bigger and bigger properties without ever thinking about size or impact.
Well, after complaints by residents that there is a possible encroachment happening in a section of Vartur Lake,
the IT and ITES sector continues to grow strong, remaining the prime driver for office space development. This, coupled with the excitement over major infrastructure initiatives like Phase 2 of the metro, has seen residential demand skyrocketing.
The land value went up enormously because of the housing demand by the IT people. Many people think that IT is a great improvement and a great thing to Bangalore. I would say IT is responsible for all the problems of Bangalore. Because when the land became scarce, there is a lot of land mafia people, as I would call them, land mafiosi. They started encroaching upon public lands. And public lands are mainly lakes. Now, this is a report which I wrote as the chairman of the task force for identification of public lands and how much of that land has been grabbed or stolen by the land mafia and the landlords. No, nobody could say anything because, you see, who has to say? The government people will have to say, the bureaucracy. No crime can be committed without the cooperation of two people. One is the person who committing the crime, who is the greedy people, and the people who are supporting it or protecting those greedy people are the conniving people, which is the bureaucracy. Where the High Court has specifically said lake beds have to be protected and they should not be encroached upon. It should not be used for any other purpose. There are judgments like that. But merely this violation of those judgments are going on. He will agree to that. He will not stop the lake encroachment because he is himself benefiting. They were not attached to lakes. They were attached to the money. There were many political leaders. I will not mention the names because they are still living. They have become partners and shareholders in these land mafia companies. And land mafia is no longer outside the government. It is inside the government.
Due to this unrestrained growth, lakes have disappeared or are polluted, leaving few solutions in the face of scarcity. Bangalore is now forced to pump water from farther and farther away, slowly depleting lakes and groundwater reservoirs, which nature can no longer refill quickly enough. Some scientists want to emphasize the importance of preserving the lakes. They say the future of the city is at stake.
Mainly it was planned to provide water to the part of Bangalore. That was the agenda, but for the last, this one, you do not see much water flowing into this one. 2020, we didn't have much rain also. There was a scarcity of water in this lake itself. The city was having water, but we killed that and we started pumping from here. After killing this, we will go to Western Ghats to get the water from far-off place so that you can have large number of pipes. Along with the pipe, money also flows. This essentially indicates the water level. You know that full reservoir level is that. Any good rain, that is the maximum level we have reached. When we have this levels, we can also say how much water is available. That is the purpose of this. These are all the historically people have found the ways to know what is the quantity of water available. Say full reservoir level means the water gets filled the entire region, you know. So that is where you can see that. That means at least I will be submerged if I am standing here with a good rain. We have water for the region, but not sufficient water. The city requires water anyway. And I said that whatever the rain falls in the region, if we catch it, we can meet the local requirement. You know, city receives about 15 TMC of rainwater. The best option is rejuvenate the lake and retain the rainwater. And these are the big lakes. They can use it for storing the water from the thing. ಮತ್ತೆ 3,000 ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಸಾಲುತ್ತಾ ಇವ್ರು ಕೊಡೋದು? ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ?
ಮಕ್ಕಳೇನೆಲ್ಲ ಅವರವರು ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದರು.
He says that 40 years back there was a good rain in 80s. The tank was full and the water was supplied to the Bangalore city, and the last few years there was not much water. So now whatever the water they are getting is enough for the irrigation in this region. ಅಂದರೆ ಮೀನುಗಾರರಿಗೆ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಜಾತಿ ಮೀನು ಸಿಕ್ಕತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ?
ಯಾವುದು ಎಂಥದ್ದು?
ಜಿಲೇಬಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕತ್ತಾ?
ಜಿಲೇಬಿ,
ಹಾಂ,
ಅವು ಮೀನು,
ಹಾಂ,
ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
ಅದೇ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕತ್ತೆ.
ಇದರಿಂದ ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ.
See, now the urbanization is killing the lake. Actually, the water, what we used to see earlier, we do not see the same quantity of water in spite of having the same kind of rainfall pattern. You know, how to retain the water, that is where ecological and civil, both approaches has to be, engineering approaches has to be there. If they do it, then we will have the water. Otherwise, they are going to kill the lake. Today's generation may be incapable, incompetent. but next generation will see the change.
Day 0, the day when there will be no more water to supply Bangalore, is getting closer. 5 years, maybe 10, according to some experts. But no one wants to believe it's imminent, because economic growth is such a priority. The city's ecological balance is very fragile. Everything depends on its single source of water, the Cauvery River. To avoid disaster, the team at BWSSB, the Bangalore Water Supply and Sewage Board, tries to deal with the most urgent needs, supplying citizens and businesses.
How many times have I told you, madam, you must supply 5,000 homes in March? You should already be at 3,000 minimum. In your dashboard, there are 700 files.
700 files, sir. Sir, it's pending. Only 60 left to supply.
Madam, we gave you 2 assistants, but you did not do your job seriously. By the end of March, we need 5,000 connections to be completed, but it's not getting done. I read an article about the contamination near Kamaraju Road. Did you see it? Did you think about the repercussions? I'm warning you, you had better go there and solve this problem before the media or news channels arrive. Make arrangements as soon as possible. Don't make up excuses by saying the pipes are worn out and that they date back to the British era.
Sir, it happened in El Japura and Nila Sandra. We can't send a truck. They don't go there.
They are not asking you to fill the tank to the sump. They are asking you to provide some water for drinking purpose. Ad madakagalva. Thank you, thank you. What
happened? How bad is the leak?
Yeah, leaks are happening frequently in this particular area because of the old infrastructure here, old pipeline here. This pipeline age is around 50 years. Now, how you are going to rectify this? Yeah, overall BWSSB is having 30% of the unaccounted for water. So this area we would like to take it for improvements by replacing all cast iron pipes to new technology DI pipes. Definitely it will reduce afterwards to within 20%. Infrastructure replacement require huge cost.
The welding isn't done. Maybe concrete would be better than welding.
We don't have any other supply other than Kaveri water. Entire city is supplied with Kaveri water only. The only perennial water source available is Kaveri. That is 100 kilometers away. That's what we are pumping the water from there only, the entire quota.
Look, this is the canal of the Cauvery River. It's completely dry. Look at this silt. It's drying up very quickly. With that soil, how can we expect our fields to get enough water and our crops to grow? The situation has clearly changed, but in 10 years nothing has improved. River water is rationed. We only receive it once a month. The future is very uncertain. Unfortunately, we don't benefit from sufficient support from the government. We can only grow 1 crop per year as the land is too dry. Let me show you how a crop can get ruined. Here we receive water once a month. We try to grow rice. And this attempt ended in disaster because of the drought. Not everyone can afford a well. Those who have money can install one, while those who don't simply can't. We had to sell 10 plots to afford a well. But not everyone can sell their land. Most people borrow money to drill into the water table. It pushes us to live on credit. Some people commit suicide when they cannot repay the interest. This is our well. It was built to compensate for the irregular water supply from the Kaveri River. Even though we sold 10 plots to get it, it didn't turn out to be as beneficial as we'd hoped.
Here we planted millet, but the crop completely dried out. We only receive water from the river once a month, and on that day we irrigate this crop. But the absence of water during the rest of the month damages the plants. The lack of water and electricity hurts us. We have no other jobs. We're dependent on what we grow. We continue to hope, but all we can do is wait.
My parents were farmers, and they passed this farm on to us. It's my responsibility now. I'm married, and I have a family, so I have more duties than before. Farmers often lack information on how loans and government aid work, where to get them and who to trust. My father didn't know anything about it either. When he saw the amount of interest he owed, he collapsed. One morning he came to our farm. At first we thought he was going to look for coconuts, but he took a rope with him and hanged himself on a tree.
Losses and repeated bankruptcies have led to numerous suicides, and the government is primarily responsible for these tragedies. Instead of calling them suicide, we should call them government murders.
I'm a farmer. We're all farmers here. We've been struggling to survive for a long time. Government policies have moved farmers from a position of strength to a position of weakness. In Karnataka, 75% of the population works in agriculture. We're completely dependent on it. Lack of regular income makes our lives uncertain month after month. The dam on the Kaveri River, built to enable farmers to survive, supplies other people and other land and leaves us practically without water. This irregular supply does not meet our needs.
If Bangalore's water supply stopped for even a single day, our village would have water. Bangalore consumes so much water that the needs of villages and farmers are neglected.
In 2016, there were less rains than normal times. It led to social unrest. So there was violence and there were burning of buses and people were injured. Kaveri flows from Karnataka into the neighboring state of Tamil Nadu. It's about who gets water. When you get more and more dependent on the river water, and when you destroy the local sources, then both Tamil Nadu and Karnataka will be fighting for it. And this can definitely happen if you do not treat water as commons, and if you depend on one water source. Campaign against water privatization became what is called People's Campaign for Right to Water. And we have had some phenomenal legal intervention, direct intervention, from stopping encroachment, forcing the government to allocate money. it took the form of various protests. And these protests were planned and they were incremental over a period of time to build more and more pressure on the government. Water, can you deny water to people who cannot afford it? Imagine what can happen if there is drought for 2 years. Bangalore will be depopulated if there is no water in Kaveri. Because we have not developed, we have not sustained, we have not protected local water sources.
What happens to farmers when they run out of water and opportunities to earn a living? They join the growing ranks of those living in Bangalore's slums. Their population increases by 1 million every 2 years.
My name is Rajesh. I've been here for 10 years. There are 4 of us in my family, my wife, my 2 children, and me. My children work. I am a mover. My wife is a cleaner. She works in the apartments across the street. We had difficulties getting by in agriculture due to the lack of water. There was no more work, so we came to Bangalore. In our village, it doesn't rain often, and the lack of water is a recurring problem. That's why we came here, to look for a better job. Here we have wells, but we still have problems with water. We don't have it regularly, and drilling into the water table is becoming more and more complicated. There are power outages, and we don't have access to water from the Kaveri River. This causes concern for our drinking water. We take water from the well. We put it in our cans and fill our barrels. Since we're only supplied every 3 days, we hold on to the water until the next supply arrives. We also have to buy drinking water, 33 euro cents per bottle. 5 rupees equals 5 euro cents. We stand in line for hours, and sometimes we don't even get any water. It's not impossible to survive here, even with the water problems, but we're really just scraping by.
It's a vicious cycle, but one man keeps up hope. Vishwanath, nicknamed Zen Rain Man. For the engineer, Bangalore is not doomed. He stays positive, proposing other ways for securing water. If people change their behavior, he says it's possible to save the city's most precious resources, its lakes and river.
India is dependent on the monsoons. It's 4 months of rains from June 1st to September 30th, which gives us about 70% of the total water that we have to use for the rest of the year. If the monsoons fail, and if they fail consecutively over 2 years, then we are in real crisis. Bangalore can be an exemplar. It can show the rest of India how to manage water locally with a little bit of support from pipe water supply outside. We collect water in the rainwater gutter, which comes into this rain barrel, will last us 100 days. And in the 100 days, there will be one rain or the other, which will again fill it up. We don't require any other outside water except rainwater for drinking and cooking. So the grey water from the washing machine and from the bath that we have, the shower we have, is collected in a small drum below, and then from there the water is pumped into the first of these filters. This filter has cattails and other water plants. They clean the water from phosphates and salts. So it goes through these 4 stages of filter and gets stored in these black drums. From these drums, we collect the water in a pipe and use it for all the gardening purposes, as well as for flushing the toilet below. So this is a rainwater tank, which holds on to rainwater, and 8,000 liters is collected here. And every time it rains, it fills up, and we reuse it for our purpose. In summertime, the city water lines also bring water to this particular tank. It's a combination tank between a rainwater tank and a city pipe water tank. If the rains are good, we don't need water from the outside for 10 to 11 months in a year. But about 2 to 3 months during summertime, we may need water from outside, but otherwise we are self-sufficient for water. Fundamental problem is social justice, is equality. That is the real problem. For equality, you need investments in the institutions to make sure that that equality is reached. We need financial sustainability for the institutions like the Bangalore Water Supply and Sewerage Board. We have to become a water literate society where everybody understands what the pressure on water is and does his or her bit. One big support group is coming from the Mannu Vaddar community, traditional well diggers, who now dig recharge wells, and that Bangalore gets enough water from groundwater. So the current capitalist model of development with its 7 and 8% GDP will consume all the natural resources that are available in a basin. And we will have to seriously look at this current model and adopt an Indian model and a Bangalore-specific model. There is enough water to give 100 liters for everybody. But what is happening is some people get 20 or 30 liters per capita per day, and some get 300 liters per capita per day. The real challenge is inequity. Some water for all, not all water for some, should be our goal.
Because he is highly respected, Vishwanath has inspired a number of local initiatives. Citizens are gradually mobilizing to save their lakes.
That there are about 21 to 30, 25, 26 species of marshy plants which can be used in the wetland for purification. Each plant will purify a different kind of chemical constitution. Land area, it is a resource. It pulls all the nutrients from the water and purifies the water and sends the water into the main water body.
What I mean is that our lake is a happy place. Before, we waited for it to fill up between November and January. The fish were not introduced artificially. They came naturally on their own. Before, no one owned or managed this lake. Everyone came to fish and ate the fish whenever they wanted. There is a saying that a lake can never dry up. Yet that's what's happening. So, please, come visit this lake. I will teach you how it works and how to ensure a sustainable future for it.
Harini Nagendra has studied the history of Bangalore. For her, the city must reconnect with its past if it wants to work towards a sustainable future, and not sacrifice everything on the altar of the economy.
We are at Kaikondralli Lake, and this lake is, well, now you see it's a beautiful place. In 2006-07, when I moved into this area, it was completely muddy, marshy. People were encroaching into the lake. No, that wheelbarrow saw newspaper reports saying that the government was coming in to restore the lake. A number of us together to start working with the government, and then that long process led to this beautiful lake. Bangalore is a place that is semi-arid, doesn't get too much water, and so the lakes are very important for the survival of the city. People always lived in ancient civilizations where there was water, and there's no water here. There's, the rainfall is pretty scanty. There are no perennial sources of water. So how did they live and what did they do in those times? Kempegowda created the market town of Bangalore really in 1537. And so what he did was, as the city grew, he created more and more water bodies. You have to create lakes for the city to grow. You have to plant trees for the city to grow. He had a vision of sustainability that meant that they want the city to stay, to be vibrant, to be healthy, to be a place that is a lovely place to be. I'm optimistic because I think one has to be, because there is no plan B. So I think we need to keep those principles in mind, that you can't have a city without a bedrock of ecology.
Perhaps the rehabilitation of its lakes will save Bangalore down the road. For now, no one can say. The future of the city remains uncertain. But the possibility that this megacity will run out of water, however remote it may now seem, constitutes a wake-up call for major cities around the world. Beijing, Mexico City, Barcelona, Melbourne, and Cape Town are already facing water shortages. The situation in Bangalore should inspire us to question our development models, question our focus on unbridled growth, which ignores ecological consequences. That approach is running out of time, and we all have a responsibility to think about what mindset should replace it. May it be one which inspires us all to build cities that are more resilient and sustainable in the face of climate change.